We're live. What's happening here? You can start talking.
Hello, everybody. This is Stephanie and Chelsea.
Hello.
We are the co-founders of CS Planners. I'm so excited because today we are going to be talking about 3 ways you can become unstoppable. But before we get in that, we know, especially during COVID, that people have had such a hard time. And I feel like oftentimes it feels like there's one thing right after another. It feels like right when you think you have the hold of everything, that's just when everything comes crashing down. And I feel like that's why Chelsea and I, we love the idea of becoming unstoppable. Because
Sorry, I'm not doing it. Sorry, we're just trying to get another app to work, and
that's all right, it's all good. So I feel like we came up with, or like we really believe that being unstoppable is like the secret to success, because ultimately when you become unstoppable, you really realize like that you can overcome anything.
I think what's really cool is that being unstoppable really means something different to everyone, but at the same time it's all kind of like the same thing. So like the way I see the term being unstoppable is basically just saying that you can do literally whatever you want, but you just know that if something comes your way, it's not going to stop you from achieving those goals. So if you know what you want, you're not going to let anything stop you. And that's what I see it being unstoppable being.
Yes, exactly. So you can literally accomplish anything. And I feel like no matter what goes on in life, it's bound to happen where something is going to knock you down.
Yeah.
I feel like it's just how life is.
No matter how successful you are, no matter where you are.
Yeah, and so many people, they think, oh, if only I had enough money, if only I had this, if only I had that. But the reality,
if I was in a relationship, if I had my own space, yeah, absolutely.
They always think that if only I had all these things. But the thing is, when they get all those things, they realize that things can still happen.
Yeah.
Because you can still lose all your money. You can still, no matter what happens, I feel like the circle of life between, like, just like naturally, people get older. It's just so many things. That's why I love the idea and word of being unstoppable.
Yeah.
Because even when life knocks you down, even in those moments, it doesn't matter because you know how to deal with those challenges.
Yes, I completely agree. And I find too that if you're thinking, well, when this happens, that's when I'm going to be able to do all these other things, I feel like that's a good thing to use as like a milestone. So it's like, clearly if you're saying when I buy a house, or when I have all this money, or when I get married, like whatever it is, I feel like that's a milestone that you now know what you need to work towards, because that is clearly important to you. So if it's like, when I get a house, you shouldn't start living that life when you get that house. You should know that that's your goal. So you need to start taking action now, so that when you do have that, you're already setting yourself up for success.
And I think about it, like so many people, they think, okay, well, this person's lucky, they have it all. This person's lucky, they have it all. But really, if they learn how to become unstoppable, that's why it appears that they're lucky, because they have a goal.
Yeah.
They know what their goal is. They know that no matter what gets in their way, that nothing will stop them.
I completely agree.
And like success is not like a straight like uphill line. Like so many people, it's like, oh, well, this person did it so easily. But to be honest, there's so many things that go behind the scenes.
Yeah.
There's so many things that people don't see, so many struggles that they don't share.
Yeah.
And I feel like, all they think of is, oh, this person's just excited. Like, it was so easy for them. They just got lucky. Yeah. But really, there was so much struggle. But even during those struggles, they didn't lose sight of where they were going. They knew their end goal, and they knew no matter what happened, that's their end goal. They are unstoppable. They're getting it. No matter what happens, they're going to achieve everything that they put their mind to.
I feel like the difference between those that are unstoppable and those that aren't, and we will get into the 3 things that
we will go over that
you do need. But I feel like the difference is that when you are on the verge of becoming unstoppable, you don't complain about all the little things. When you have a challenge, you deal with it and you move on. Where those that are still learning on how to become unstoppable, I feel like they're faced with a challenge and then they're like, oh my goodness, okay, done. And then they dwell on it. Where right away, when you're unstoppable, it's just like, okay, what do we need to do to fix this? And then you deal with it and then you move on. And I find that when people are like, oh, you're so lucky, they don't see that you went through those challenges because you didn't talk about it. You didn't dwell on it. You didn't make it your whole life purpose at that moment. It's just like, yeah, but if you only saw what I did have to go through, I just didn't complain about it because that was just one small thing I had to get through.
Exactly. And I always like to kind of describe it, or I'm a visual person. I feel like I like to think of it like imagine like waves, you know? So I feel like when you're unstoppable, it feels like you are jumping from wave to wave. Like imagine the top point of the wave. Yeah. You are literally, when you're unstoppable, you're jumping from the top point of the wave, top point of the wave, top point of the wave. And what it feels like is that you're ultimately skipping those super low moments.
Yeah.
And it's not to say that you don't go through, even when you're at the top of the wave, you still have problems. Yeah. You still have, challenges that you go through, but you have everything that you need. You can still, be grateful for what you have, still be at the top of that wave, and be ready just to jump to the next wave without completely feeling like you're drowning in the water.
I remember at one point I told people that I felt like I was just constantly treading water. And that was what I told people all the time. Like when I was struggling and it was just like, I'm doing whatever I can to keep my head afloat, whether it was at my corporate job or with my personal life, it's just like, I feel like I'm doing everything I can to keep my head above water. But at that time, I still knew my head's still above water though. So the fact that I'm not drowning is good. And I use that, even though it was like, I'm submerged up to my neck. It's like my head's above water so I can still breathe. And I use that as my momentum to just keep going until you get to the point where you're like, you know what, I now feel like I'm floating on the water. Maybe you don't feel like you're fully on top of that wave yet, but you don't feel like you're working so hard just to make sure you can breathe.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's a good, because so often it's so easy just to get stuck in the low points of the wave where people are literally just going from low, like they feel like they don't have any high points. It's literally, they go from one problem to another problem to another problem. I've been there. I've felt like I've been stuck where it just feels like the entire world is crashing around you, and you're literally just when you start climbing the wave, and then literally like an even bigger one comes, and you're like, thanks, now I'm like literally feel like I'm drowning.
Yeah,
I feel like, but it doesn't have to be that way. I know what it feels like to be stuck in that cycle, but I also know how, we know how to pull our people out of it. There's a secret to it. I feel like when people say, you're so lucky, you're so this, how can you achieve all your goals? There's a way that you can actually do it.
Exactly. So what is the first thing that people need to know to make sure that they change? I guess essentially it's just a change of pattern.
Yes.
That's the most important thing, is that you have to change your pattern.
Yes. So the very first thing that people need to know is hope. Because I'll be honest with you, and I used to hate the word hope because it meant that you were thinking about something that you knew wasn't there. That's what I thought it meant. But then I realized when you're in that moment, when you feel like the entire world is crashing around you, where you are at the low point in your wave, where it just feels like that everything around you is coming down, you need that hope. That hope to know that anything is possible, that no matter what happens, that there is hope in this world. To know that, when life, as I think it's Les Brown that says, as when life knocks you down, if you can look up, you can get up.
Yeah.
And I feel like to even stand up when life knocks you down, to stand up, it ultimately means that it's that hope. That's what people look for. It's that hope to know that, there is, life has knocked me down so hard, but you know what? There is that little bit of hope that things can get better. You may not see the entire picture. At this point, a lot of people, and the hope phase. I almost like think of them as, you know, kind of it's a combination of these three things that we're going to be talking about through becoming unstoppable. But in the hope, this hope, it's like when people feel like they're just so overwhelmed. They don't have their life purpose. They may be lost with everything they're doing in their life.
Yeah.
They feel completely confused. Maybe they're not happy with their job, their relationship, their money, everything around them. But in that moment, all they need to think about is that hope, to know that things will get better. If you keep moving forward, you can literally accomplish anything. You don't have to know how at this point. That's like if you're like that right now and you feel incredibly stuck.
Yeah.
It's almost like important for you not to focus on the how, because that is what will make you feel overwhelmed.
Yeah.
That's what really make you feel like, I don't know how, and then it makes you go backward. But to know that no matter what life throws at you, you can do it. You are stronger than you think. And I feel like people don't give themselves enough credit.
I say that all the time. I do say it. I said that to you a lot.
I know, you do.
Why? Why don't you think you can do that?
I was thinking about you when I was saying that.
I think that for me, hope has always been a powerful thing. But I remember at one point, I thought that if I had hope, it was also like a bad thing, because it's like, well, I don't believe in myself. But at the same time, whenever shit hit the fan, hope was all I had.
Exactly. Sometimes life just gets so bad where you're like, I don't know what else to do. I've lost myself. I lost everything. You have no idea what else can go on. I'm just gonna hope. And it's literally sometimes in those moments, it's literally hope that you hang on to. And for me, it's like after I lost my son, it's the hope that even though doctors tell me I couldn't get pregnant, it's the hope that, I hope that I can. I'm hanging on to that hope that, you know what, one day maybe I will have, and I do have a daughter, by the way. But so yes, it didn't work out. But still, it's that hope. Or during my lowest moments, during anxiety attacks, or when I'm feeling so overwhelmed by life, feeling like I'm drowning in life, and it's like, I don't know, and I'm telling myself, I can't get through this. I don't know I'm not enough. I can't deal with this right now. When life just feels so overwhelming that you have nothing else left but to hope. Yeah. To hope that, you know what? If you hang on to that one word, hope, I hope that it gets better. It's like all of a sudden it changed to be like, you know what? If I hope that means there's possibilities. Yeah. It means it can end. Yeah. It's like, that's what I've always thought about.
Absolutely.
And you've been there through my lowest times. And I said to you, I'm like, you know what? I hope it is. You're like, yeah, that's all you need. In your lowest points, you just need hope to know that it can. And then automatically, if you believe in the word hope, it opens your mind to possibilities.
And what I think is important is I know even when I've struggled, it's just I need you to just tell me that it's going to be okay. And vice versa. It's just I don't know, but you want it. So I believe that it's going to be okay. And that's the important thing, that I think that's what we're doing for the world. And that's kind of part of what we're doing is, even when the people around you, they don't believe in you, if it's something that you want, we want to give you the hope. So you're sitting there thinking, it is possible, because someone's now confirming that I can do it. And I find that that's the hardest thing for a lot of people, is that one, maybe they just don't want to open up to others because they don't want to admit that they're going through something challenging. So they don't want to say things to others to get that validation. But the other thing too is it's a vulnerable thing to open up about what you do actually want and what your goals are. But with you, Steph, you're the first person where I'm you asked me what my dream life was, and I gave you the very basic answer. And that's what I told everyone. And you called me on my bullshit.
No, I did.
You're like, Chelsea, come on. What do you really want? Yeah. And I was okay. And I always thought it was outrageous because I always lived in this fantasy world. But I'm telling you, my fantasy world, this little dream I lived in. And then I told it to you, and you're like, okay, let's make it happen. And literally just that one person saying, let's do it. It was okay, I can do it. And that's why we're here. We want to be the people to give you hope.
And if you don't have anybody in your life right now to tell you that you can accomplish all your dreams, all your goals, I can be here today, right now, to say you can accomplish anything you put your mind to. Anything. You are literally your own limitation.
Yeah.
Whatever you think, if you limit yourself, that's what you're going to get. But if you allow yourself to dream big at the possibility that somebody else on this earth has probably accomplished so, like, what you're thinking of. There's so many things that even people that, you think of how many inventions, you think of how many things people can, airplanes, the internet, all these things just blow my mind. And it's just like, you can do it too. The only difference literally between all these like super successful people is they had the idea that they could do it. That was literally that they knew. They're like, okay, they can do all these, whatever they put their mind to. But ultimately, how do you expect to get your dream life if you don't at least hope that it's possible? That idea, just open yourself a little bit to know that it's possible, and to allow yourself to dream in those fantasy worlds, because that's the first step on how you get there.
Yeah. It's just like the idea of Mars, people don't know how to get to Mars, but people want to be able to get to Mars.
Exactly.
So we don't have the tools and everything yet. And I emphasize that word yet because I feel like that's a very, very strong word in the English vocabulary. But I find that like you don't need to know how, you just need to know that what you want. And if you're sitting here being like, this sounds like bullshit, that's fine. The way I see it though is like, if you're miserable right now, what's the worst that can happen to have a bit of hope? Exactly. And if you have that, you're changing already.
You're unstoppable.
You're unstoppable.
First time, like,
Step one.
becoming unstoppable. Because it's so true. And I feel like even if you're not necessarily struggling at, like, even if you're feeling like, okay, I feel content with my life, even to know that, just to hope that things can get even better. Like, you don't even have to be struggling for hope to be, like, for something. Just, I feel like what it does, and why I love the word hope, is it really gets your mind thinking of all the possibilities, to allow yourself to dream a little bit. Because oftentimes I feel like that's where people get stuck.
Yeah.
I feel like because in society, just general, it's like there's this general thing, or at least that's how I felt. Like, for me, it's like general things that you should be doing. You should be getting a 9-to-5 job. Everybody, kind of should be struggling. It's just, not everybody should be, but that's just generally like the common things. What brings people together? Complaining. Usually that's what people brings. Okay, I'm going to complain. What am I going to complain about? Well, everybody, they complain about money. They complain about health. That's what they do. And the list goes on. And, it's like they think it brings people together because, hey, all these other people have all these same problems.
Yeah.
And I do agree that it's important to find your people.
Yes.
If you have, I do say that it is important, if you have those struggles, to find your community. But I do find having the balance of being like, in those moments, to hope that things can get better. Because oftentimes what happens is so many people, they get stuck in the cycle. I feel like it's a balance that you need. You don't want to get stuck in that version of like always complaining, always because if you feel like you can relate to that right now, then you need to start thinking about, okay, I hope, the possibility that things can be different. Life doesn't always have to be that way.
I kind of explained this to another person earlier this week of like, imagine you're like a planet.
Did you say a planet?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm curious about this.
So imagine you're Mars, You're on this orbit, you're taking that route around the sun, you're doing your job. And you're doing a great job at it. But maybe you're Mars, but you want to be Earth. And you know that if you stay in this orbit, you're not going to be Earth because you're too far from the sun. There's other things too. Like take this vague leap.
We're all like scientists.
I'm just using words. So imagine you're Mars, you're going around this orbit and you're like, this is great. I'm doing what I need to do, but I'm not feeling fulfilled. I want to become Earth. What do you have to do? One, you believe that it's possible. And then while you're orbiting, you're looking for ways to get out of that orbit. So along the way, you're just like, how do I get out of this? And maybe you'll see this one split-second decision where it's like, I need to take this now, and all of a sudden you're out of orbit. But then you're kind of into the next phase, which I'm going to lead to now, I guess.
Yeah, might as well,
is the discovery phase. So you leave the orbit. Now you're kind of floating in space. You don't know where you're going. You know where you want to go, but you've left your orbit. It's kind of scary because you're leaving it for the first time, and you have that choice. This is choice. You can go back to that orbit. You're close enough that you can go back in. But at the same time, you're like, I finally broke it. I broke that pattern. And I'm closer to something that I never thought was possible. So then you're Mars just floating around,
and you're lost. You're feeling lost. That's the number 2.
The discovery.
The discovery. Phase. So after you you have the hope for it. You're like, yes, it's hope. But 2, it's like it's so easy after after just feel lost. You're like, oh my goodness, like I'm lost in space. Like I don't know
you see a different perspective of the world once you change that slight thing of just having hope.
Yeah, because you lose after you can lose who you are, because ultimately it's great to go after. So you're like, I want this. There's hope for me to really get it. But then you're like, okay, then the more you start believing it, then you're like, wait, I'm lost.
Yeah.
Because I don't know who I am. I don't know how to get it. And then you start, because it's panic because it's a little bit closer. So you're like, oh my goodness, it's possible.
And it's different too. And I feel like things being different really scare people for multiple reasons. One, you're now changing your routine and you don't know this before. You were doing things the way you were supposed to do. But now you're making your own decisions, and you also have a slightly more positive view of the world, because if you have that hope, now you're looking for opportunities to get out, but now you took that and now you're scared. So it's like you had that opportunity to be positive, but now you're kind of lost and confused, but you just need to believe that I just need to learn. This is a whole new phase that I don't know yet. I've yet to discover. So I need to explore this, try new things. I need to see if maybe get a little close to the sun. Is this actually what I want? Or do I want to go towards Pluto? This is the time where you get to have fun, the way I see it.
And I want to say that you have an incredible story in terms of completely losing your identity. So if you're out there right now saying you feel lost with who you are, you don't know, you lost your life purpose, you feel you lost your passion, your drive for life. Chelsea, tell us a little bit about I feel like your story.
Yeah, so for me, I was always an athlete. I was playing every single sport. I literally did it all. I got the athletic award when I was in grade 9 because I had so many points and everything. But then in my final year of high school, I had my last concussion, and I lost everything. I lost sports. I lost looking at a book. I couldn't have social interactions. I lost everything about what I thought made me. So when I didn't have the sports, I couldn't really excel in school. I couldn't be social because all of my friends were the athletes, so I stopped hanging out with them.
And I feel like, I'm gonna pause right there, because I feel like a lot of people can relate to feeling so, maybe people feel like, oh, I'm so different than everybody else. I'm not like everybody else. I feel lost. I feel lonely. And it's and it's especially in that situation, but even in general, it's so common, for people to feel lost, especially the closer you get to your dreams, your goals. Sometimes you can feel like that, how you're describing.
Absolutely, because at the same time, it's I knew my friends were there for me, but in that moment, I was just they don't care about me now that I don't play sports. They don't need me. What's the point? Why would they hang out with me? And then you start questioning yourself because you don't know who you are, so you question everything. And then at the same time, I was told, well, I had a neuropsych exam. I went to rehab for concussions. And basically I was told you shouldn't go to school. Don't even consider it. Maybe go to college, but you should wait. And all of a sudden my entire life was in jeopardy. I was like, what am I doing with my life? Am I supposed to go to university? Am I supposed to go to college? Am I waiting? And I've been working 3 jobs all throughout high school. I did varsity. So I was used to being very busy all the time. I didn't stop until this moment where I also didn't have the energy to stop. And then I got to a point where my university that I went to with the list of accommodations I needed, they're like, no, you shouldn't even bother coming. And I was so defeated because at the same time, I was like, what am I doing with my life? Who am I hanging out with? I don't have friends. My family, they don't understand. They just see me crying all the time. And now I don't know what future I'm going to have. But then I got a little stubborn. then I decided.
Got unstoppable.
I became unstoppable to be like, I'm going to go to university and I'm going to do it full time. I'm not going to do one semester and I'm going to do it without any of the accommodations I needed. It was hard. Don't get me wrong. This was not easy.
Usually in becoming unstoppable, it does come with...
You get pushed.
Yeah, you do definitely get pushed. But in the end, you got that, you got things that people said that wouldn't happen.
Exactly. And I think the important thing is you have to celebrate along the way. So no, did I do really, really well in school? Absolutely not. I was also working full-time hours along with going to university full-time while being concussed and not being able to function. But at the same time, I passed a test and I was like, I did it. I passed one test. So if I pass this test, I can pass another one. And I've always been a very optimistic person, kind of obnoxiously at some points. But I'm also a person that I chase happiness. So if something makes me miserable, I don't want to go towards that. If something makes me feel like I'm getting closer to some type of goal, I'm always willing to take that risk. And at the same time, I could have possibly chosen not to go. I could have paid for a semester, failed. But at that point, all the risks didn't matter because it was like a self-fulfilling prophecy at that point. It was like, this is what I want, so I'm going to go for it. And then I celebrated every little thing until a point I didn't even look at my grades. Okay, I passed, done. I did it. That's all I need to do. But then I got to a point where I met new friends that aligned with me. I met my partner that I'm now with 10 years later. I don't know. I said a number before, and someone's like, it's been longer than that. So I don't really know. But then I grew a new community with people that knew me as the concussed person. As opposed to, because I know a lot of people, even with concussions, they feel like they've lost their identity. So it's just like, oh, I don't have a group of friends, or how do I tell people that I had concussions? But I didn't identify as a concussed girl. I just identified as Chelsea. And I was like, to these people that I'm now meeting, they only know me as this person. They don't know the old me. Mm-hmm. So then that alone made me feel more confident and comfortable with them because I'm like, they're friends with me because of who I am right now.
So those right now that are struggling with their identity, they don't know what they should be doing, they lost any of their passion, their purpose, what can they do to kind of discover themselves? What kind of things do you recommend? Because I feel like that's such a hard thing to get stuck into, but it's also really important because when you start discovering who you are, who you truly are, when you find your passion, when you find your drive, when you find all those things, discover who you are, it helps you with the third thing, which we'll get later. But it's like, I feel like it's like the heart of becoming unstoppable because if you have the passion, you have your why, you have it all, it really, it makes you keep pushing even farther. Yeah. So what can people do? What do you think?
Find you have to explore. And for me, I feel like it was simple because I knew my next step was post-secondary education. But if you don't know that next step, I feel like essentially just putting feelers out there. So if I was saying to you before, I hated my job. So I didn't just pretend that I wasn't searching and had something available. I actively went and searched. And if I read something that seemed interesting to me, I tried it. I applied. If it didn't work out, that's fine. But then I got accepted. I was offered a job, and right away I knew this isn't what I'm supposed to do. And then another opportunity was presented to me, which was which was really the riskier decision, but that felt right. So I feel like you just need to try things and get curious. You have to step out of your comfort zone a little bit.
And I feel like, too, one huge thing that I've learned from you, Chelsea, is self-analyzing and self-reflecting because that is huge. That's something I honestly, I never self-analyzed. I never really did any of that. It never came easily to me. And I remember you saying, we had a conversation, you said, you do it all the time. And the thing is, it's so powerful. It helps you discover who you truly are. What do you like? And I feel like so often people spend most of their time discovering other people. What do they like? What I need
trying
to make them
impress
happy.
Other people,
I'm trying to impress people. I need to make them happy. I need to, rearrange my own things to make other, to accommodate other people. I'm trying to please other people. And I feel like so many times I feel like people can get lost because they spend their entire life discovering everybody else around them when they really forgot to discover who they really are.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I went through too, because I feel like I'm fairly empathetic. So if I was in a room, I would always look to be like, who do I need to be in order to fit in? And I noticed in those times I did it. I was there, but I never enjoyed myself because I didn't feel like I was authentically myself. It was like, it just felt exhausting because I felt like I was trying to please them. But then at the same time, I was very quiet because I'm like, by the time I figured out how I needed to act, it was too late. I'm like, I've been sitting here quietly for way too long. Now it's just weird if all of a sudden I started interacting
like a different person.
Yeah, and also like, I feel like if you're thinking how you need to be in order to fit into that place, it's already an indicator that you're not in the right place because that's exhausting.
Yeah, if you find yourself so down, like usually if you feel lost, if you don't know who you are, you're constantly trying to like figure out like how to act. That's usually, and maybe you're not confident. That's usually a sign. Those are huge signs that maybe you need to do some self-discovery, some self-reflection to really start focusing on yourself so that maybe you can discover who you truly are.
And you can just start with simple questions of like, did I have fun? Did I feel like I actually enjoyed myself? Like simple questions like that. Or like, would I want to do this again? If someone said we're doing the same thing tomorrow, would I be excited? Simple questions like that will really give you a clear idea. And if the answer is, no, I don't want to see them again tomorrow, then you maybe have that answer. But then also there's variables in there too of like, maybe I'm just having a bad day that I didn't want to be there, but you always know.
Yeah, I feel like if you're honest with yourself enough and you do that self-reflection, if it's a bad day versus like the more you count. And I feel like as long as you don't get stuck over analyzing or overthinking, which can be like, it feels like you're question after question after question after question. And and then it feels like you're piling into just a bunch of questions and you're overthinking things. But if you just ask yourself naturally some questions, some basic questions, and honestly, sometimes it is about taking action. Like if you're sitting out there right now, you don't know what what your passion is. Sometimes it's just going out and having some fun.
Yeah. Sometimes if you're thinking too much, you're too lost into it. You need to forget it all. Do something that's fun, whether it's watching a movie, whether it's reading a book, going for a hike,
coming on our live,
joining us live, checking out our website, like whatever it is that allows you to escape for a split second. Sometimes is all you need to help you actually understand it.
Because sometimes I know for myself, like I discovered more about myself when I actually wasn't thinking about it. Because sometimes you're like, what do I like? And like you're quizzing yourself and you're like, I don't know the answers to these. Like, why don't I know myself? I don't know the answers.
The secret is to not think sometimes.
I'm told we think too much.
Yeah. And the thing too is like, I feel like if you overanalyze, then sometimes you get to a point where you can blame people for things. So like if I'm in an environment that I don't fully feel confident, you need to take ownership, because if you're just like, well, I didn't like it because that person said this, that person said that, you get to pointing fingers instead of just being like, you know what, maybe they did say those things that I didn't like, so maybe they're not my people, or maybe they're having a bad day. But like, I think it's so easy for people to point blame to things or people that they don't take ownership of their own life. And it's just like, you have the right to choose this. You have the right to leave. You have the right to continue these conversations with them. Like, I feel like it's so easy to point fingers to other people, especially in the discovery phase when you're taking risks.
Yeah.
Because if you're taking a risk and something fails, which I don't even like the word fail, because like I see it more as like a lesson. We say this all the time.
Lessons, all those things, like, because ultimately, if you're stepping outside, like you have the hope, you're like, okay, that's it. I'm going to go after what I want. And you step into that like discovery phase. Okay, I'm going to discover who I am. I can almost guarantee there's going to be some type of lesson.
Yeah.
Because if you're not growing, how are you going to change?
If you're not being challenged, you're not growing.
Yeah, like that's the point of like you're having those challenges because you want that different life.
Yeah.
It's not always easy, but that's why it's
different.
It's different. Like, and we're all human. We all make mistakes. We all know we make mistakes. Why?
Mm-hmm.
Like, and I feel like there's so much pressure to be like, we have to be perfect all the time.
Yeah.
But in reality, you don't.
No.
If you start focusing, what we always do, and what I definitely recommend you doing at any challenge that comes your way, or any lesson as we call them, anything obstacle comes your way, you kind of switch your focus. Like, what can I learn from this?
Yes.
And I feel like, because it's not about ignoring it. It's not about, okay, this doesn't exist, let's pretend it doesn't exist. No, it is about feeling it. Because for a while, I just wouldn't want to feel the challenge. I would ignore it. And then, then it become a whole separate problem, right? But so it's not about that. It's still about feeling it, but really figuring out what you can learn about it. Because when you learn something, then it almost helps you with moving on with it. Like, okay, I've learned it. Okay, now I can move on, and not really focusing on like this is like so common. People are like, I'm such a failure. Why did I do this? Be like, you know what? I tried.
I'm embarrassed.
Yeah,
like, people are gonna judge me.
All these things. Like, you know what? I tried. It didn't go as well as I planned. But you know what? I tried. I stepped outside of my comfort zone, and that should be celebrated. Yeah. So what can you celebrate within that? Because I feel like that is like a huge part of it.
I think another thing that happens when people fail is, again, you point fingers. It's just like, I failed because of this person. This is why it didn't go well. If, again, when you bring it back to focusing on yourself, if it's just like, this didn't work, what can I do next time? That's the best way to grow, because now you've learned your lesson. And I'm going to have to say this story.
I'm excited.
Our old job, you and I quit. And then we went back because we were there on call, I guess. Yeah. And day one of me being back.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I know what story. This is a good one.
So there was this thing we do every single year. You had your role, funny. I had my role. Everyone had their role, but now this time we're not full-time staff. We're there as on call. And they didn't really like me fully as I left because, I was honest with them of things that they need to be aware of before they leave. And, some people don't like the truth, but this is the truth. Anyway, so we get there. I wasn't involved in that role that I usually do. So I was kind of all over the place. Yeah. And then all of a sudden I had to give information. And it was off by 2 numbers. It was like, they were asking for numbers for things. And I said like 10 instead of 7 or something.
Yeah, something like that.
And shit hit the fan.
Oh my, it was like all of a sudden, it's like so many staff. Yeah, but she did it.
And then in the end, I was like, okay, I told you 10, but there's 7. Isn't that the best case scenario? Yeah. Well, Chelsea told us that it was 10. So what are we supposed to do? It's not 10 though. We figured out that it's 7. So it's okay.
And oh my, I just remember being at my desk and you're standing kind of right beside me. And then there's 2 people all of a sudden, they're surrounded, no, it's her. Then all of a sudden everyone gets curious. So then everybody wants to join in.
What's the story?
What's the story?
What did she do wrong?
Yeah, what did she do wrong? Oh my goodness. Let's hear the gossip.
So then it was I don't understand why we're focusing on this. So then I went to go do other things to, again, be productive. Yeah. Because that's what you're supposed to do. And they followed me. Oh. And they're like, Chelsea, you were wrong. I was like, why are you following me? It doesn't even matter. I gave you the wrong number, but it was the best case scenario of me giving you the wrong number. It's not like I said we had 7 and really had 20 and we can't accommodate.
But Chelsea, you were wrong.
I know. And I just remember before at that place, that would have never happened, which is why I loved it, because every time there was an issue, our entire department was like, okay, what are we going to do?
What are we going to do now? Yeah. What are we going to do to fix it? What can we learn? What can we do? And then after it's a reflection. That's what usually would have happened. Instead of focusing on the it's okay, there's other things to be doing. You're literally delaying yourself from your success.
Exactly.
Because
you're focusing on the negative, which isn't always a negative.
Yeah, it's not. It's like it turned out to be better. Like
Yeah.
maybe that's the way it should have been. Maybe it was a lesson that it should have happened that way. Sometimes it is about trusting that that's how it was supposed to be. Maybe you didn't get that job. Maybe you didn't, get everything that you wanted. Maybe that's not like, the way you imagined it. Maybe there's something better. That's when that hope still comes in. Like, you know what? I didn't get that because maybe there's something better. Yeah. Maybe there's something else for me.
Even for me with an apartment searching, I was doing the last minute. All my hope was in this one because I'm like, if I don't get this, I'm not going to be able to move out by this certain date. And I didn't get it. And then all of a sudden I found this place.
Which is even better.
Yeah. Like,
it's like
I was miserable because like you do feel bad and you're just like, okay, you kind of dip low again. But at the same time, I knew where I was at that point isn't where I was supposed to be, and I knew I needed an out. So I held on to that hope that there was still an out, and because I held on to that hope, we found this place.
Exactly.
And now I'm thankful.
Yeah, exactly. But it's like the combination. It's like when those challenges do come, it's going back to what we were talking about before. It's like you can always go back to that hope to be like, you know what? Maybe it was supposed to be this way.
Yeah.
Maybe I wasn't supposed to get that job. Maybe I wasn't supposed to get that apartment. And then sometimes you look at it after and be like, you know what? I'm actually kind of glad I did get that apartment. And maybe I'm glad that I because I got something even better, even though it's not what I thought, but it's what ended up being really good.
And you can still be sad. Like, that's the thing is, like, you need to realize that you can be sad and not drop to, like, my life is over. Exactly. What am I doing? Like, if you go back to that, then you're starting all over again. Where you can be sad and being like, it sucks. I really wanted that place. But I still know what I want. So I'm just, like, you choose not to give up. And that's the important thing is if you choose not to give up, then you don't need to dip back down to, like, that bottom of the wave. You can now move to the next stage. Which, going back to my planet, story,
I love
you're floating around, and all of a sudden you get into Earth's orbit. I don't know what happened to Earth. Earth isn't there, but Mars is now on Earth's orbit. And it's just like, you know what? I made it. But here's the thing: Earth, as far as we know right now, again, I'm not a science person, so don't worry. Earth doesn't have the water that. Mars doesn't have the water that Earth has. It doesn't have the land. It doesn't have the animals that Earth has. So it gets there. It kind of feels like an imposter. Because it's like, I'm here. I got to where I wanted to be. But I feel happy, but I don't feel like you have that spot of like, is this where I'm supposed to be? Because now you feel happy, but you're also terrified.
And that leads us to point number 3, which is transformation. How to become unstoppable. First, we talked about hope, because you have to have that hope. Discovery in yourself, what you want. Once you discover what you want, what you're passionate about, you're ready for it. Next is transformation, taking the action, because if you want to become unstoppable, if you want to turn all your dreams into reality, you can do that with these 3 things.
Yeah.
And the last one, like, transformation is huge. And it's because you need that transformation. But a lot of people are afraid of change. And that's what holds them back. And I feel like at this point, people are so close to getting what they want. If you're at the point where you've discovered who you are, you know what you want, but you're afraid of change. But you need that change. You need that action. You need it in order, if you want a different life than what you're living right now, you need to have some sort of change. It's how it is. But it's kind of crazy to think. It's like, on one end, so many people are like, oh, I want that, that dream house. I really want more money. But actually, when it comes to actually making the action, it's almost like they're scared. Yeah.
And I find too, like, it's easy. So when you're in the transformation stage, you ultimately have 2 options. You can choose to go back and be like, you know what, this is too hard. Or you can embrace it and be like, you know what, I don't know what I'm doing. I might feel like an imposter, but this is where I want to be. And you take those steps to continue growing. So again, with my planet thing, Mars isn't Earth, but the longer it's there, if it chooses to stay there and it chooses to continue becoming new Earth, eventually, and again, don't quote me on a science perspective, but eventually maybe the water will be there. Maybe there will be plants that grow. Maybe the soil changes. Maybe it adapts to be able to host human life. And unless
Wouldn't that
it's...
be wild?
I know. I think about this all the time.
I see, like, oh my God, if that actually happened.
I have this theory that planets are slowly getting sucked into Earth. So I have a theory. I have a theory that Venus did have humans before, but now got closer to the sun, and then now we have Earth. Well, like, those are stories I make up in my head.
Like I've just like always thought, like, you know, they're there for, like, they're all there. They're all like, they're never, like, you know, that's it. They all have an order. But so the idea, like, the idea right there, that thing, like, doesn't have to be that way. Like,
It doesn't.
Yeah, like,
who knows?
Yeah, like, it doesn't. Who said, like?
Yeah. Who said that Venus wasn't the old Earth?
I don't know. It wasn't me.
I think it's
possible.
Anyway,
transformation.
So, this is a time where you feel like an imposter, but you have to choose. And you might have, it's kind of now presenting yourself to the world as this new person that you want to become. So, say, for example, Earth is there, or Mars is now Earth, but Mars is parent planets. It's just like, you're not supposed to be Earth, like, you're supposed to be Mars. Like, your job is to be Mars. And Mars can be like, you know what, my people that I'm closest to wants me to be Mars, but I feel like I'm supposed to be Earth.
Yeah.
And you have to trust yourself.
You're getting pulled in two different directions. And I feel that's so common with, like, as you're going into that transformation, as you're changing, it's so easy for people around you that even if they could mean well, but it's so easy for people that you're not supposed to do that, judging you, all these things. And in your head, it creates that self-doubt. Then you go back to, I lost who I am. Yeah. And that discovery phase, you know, you lose your path. Like, maybe you lose, like, because it impacts you, right? Like, the people around you, you're like, hey, maybe, like, there is two options. Either you can go forward and go for it, no matter what they say, and become unstoppable. Or it's so easy to get pulled back in. And I feel like for me, that's where I got stuck. That's where my main challenge was. My main lesson that I had to learn was that, you know what, there's always going to be people around you that will say all these things. I feel like it just happens. Like, I wish it wasn't. I wish I could tell you that everybody around you for the rest of your life is going to be supportive. I wish I could be that person to say that no matter what you go through, that everybody around you is going to love and support you forever. But in reality, it's just not the case.
I think what really happens is that when people see you succeed, it makes them do some self-reflection, because I feel like it's making them think about their goals and their dreams, and it's forcing them to either choose to take that risk on themselves or choose not to. And I think that scares a lot of people.
It does.
So it's easier for them to try to bring you down, because if you fail, then it gives them the confirmation they need to stand still. And that's how I see it. It's not that they don't necessarily support you. I feel like it scares them.
It comes across like they don't support you, but really a lot of the time it is stuff maybe that you think about the challenges that each person has that they've gone through. Yeah. So those people that, you know, what it feels like, they don't love me, they don't support me, they don't care, they don't want to see me happy. That's what it feels like. But if you really dive a little bit deeper into this, it's not always the case, because those people maybe they had a challenge and they're putting their anxieties onto you. Maybe they're putting their fears onto you, and they're doing it because they care about you. Yeah. But it comes across like they're not supporting you. And that is probably, like, for me, maybe you're like me too, and that was probably my hardest challenge, because before I used to look for other people for validation in everything that I did. So if I had a decision, should I buy a house? Should I do this? I'm going to look at other people. What did they think? Everybody thinks it's a good idea. So I'm going to do it too. I think and I never looked inside, which is why I feel like the discovery phase is so important.
Yeah.
Because
you need to trust yourself.
You need to trust yourself. If you don't trust yourself,
who can you trust?
Yeah, exactly. Because you're the one that
no one has your best interest other than you.
Exactly. You ultimately can create the happiness. You are the one that's living your life. You have the power to accomplish everything that you want in your life.
Yeah.
So you have to be the one to say, you know what, I can do this. And you have to be the one to believe in yourself, even when others don't.
Yeah, and transformation, it's tough because at one point you've made it. You've accomplished your goal. But at the same time, you're not fully there yet. So you need to now adapt to this new life that you're creating for yourself. And I feel like this is where it's really important to start creating routines. So if you're feeling lost and you're in this new life and you're like, who are my friends? Where are my people? Focus on creating a routine. So what do you need? How do you wake up in the morning? How do you go to bed at night? What do you do for your health? What do you do for self-care? What do you do? And when you create those routines for yourself, I feel like naturally you'll start being drawn to different things. So maybe you created a morning routine where you wake up, you brush your teeth, you work out, you stretch, you shower, and you get ready for the day. But maybe that small change is enough to get you really motivated to take on any other challenge in the day. And just by doing that one simple thing, you're like, I can do this. I'm ready to accomplish anything that comes my way. And at the same time, at the end of the day, I love just washing my face at the end of the day, because for me, it's just like, this day is done. So even if it was a bad day, I've washed it away and I can start fresh tomorrow. And that's what I think is super important, is knowing that what's happening today doesn't necessarily need to come with you tomorrow. You can leave it in today. So when you start tomorrow, start it fresh.
And I feel like what always helps me, which I can tell you, is that to know that you are so close to success. You are literally it's right out in front of you. You have everything that you possibly could ever want. And there's really, people may not support you along the way. You might have all these other challenges, but you've already been so far.
Yeah.
You've already been through hell. Why stop here?
You've been through the worst of it at this point.
Why do you stop? Why? Because and that's where people give up. It's you've already been through hell. You've already been through the worst part. You might as well just step over, though I almost imagine a line.
Yeah.
You've already been through the hell. You've already been through it all. You've already been through everything. You just need to step over the line. You need to reach and grab everything that you want.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so close. Don't let the last bit knock you down, because you've already been through it all. You've already done it. So the transformation, it's I always thought transformation, even the word kind of scares me a little, because it's
really
a little, because it does, change is scary. So if you're sitting out there saying, change is terrifying. Yeah, change is absolutely terrifying. I can say right now, even to this day, change is so scary. But do I go after it anyways? Absolutely. Because I know what's on the other side of that line is worth it. I know that at that point, if I feel like there's going to be a change, feel like, okay, that's it. I'm going after it. I'm going to grab everything that I want.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to bring it into me. That's what's exciting. And when you combine those three things that we're talking about, the hope, the discovery, the transformation, and it's the combination of the three that it makes you feel like you're literally jumping from wave to wave. And it makes you feel like you don't have, you're not drowning, because ultimately in any given time, if you have a challenge and you kind of feel like you could be, dipping down a little, you have that hope. You have the possibility that anything is possible.
Yeah.
And if you feel like that you're losing yourself a little bit, maybe people around you aren't supporting you, so you feel like you lose yourself, you have that self-discovery. You have the tools that you need to overcome any challenges. And I feel like there's always going to be change. Even when you do accomplish I feel like all these goals, when you do accomplish everything you're thinking about right now, chances are, to be honest with you, there's probably going to be more than you want to accomplish.
Yeah.
Because it always happens that way. There's going to be more change. So instead of escaping change instead of saying like
hiding
from it, all those things. It's like, it doesn't have to, and if you're terrified of change, like I am terrified, I'm getting better at it now, but it doesn't always have to be anything dramatic. If you're absolutely terrified of change, maybe it is, you know what, I am going to change up my routine. I am going to, change up all these things, change up who I see. Maybe I'm going to meet more people. Maybe I'm going to get out and see more people. Maybe that is the type of change that you need.
Yeah.
But maybe that is the first step. And only you can answer what kind of change. If you're the type to be like, you know what, I need to quit my job and go after something else, or you know what, I need to meet a new group of friends. I need to surround myself with people that really love and support and really have, that all meet like the same kind of goal and, people alike. But only you know what kind of change that you need in your life.
Exactly. And now's the best time to start. If you're sitting here and you're watching like, yeah, I know that I'm not living the life I want to live, you need to start now. This is your time to make that decision and be like, I'm making this change. I'm going to go after it and start taking those steps.
Because it's so close to the end of the year. These next 6 months can be so incredibly wild. Why wait for January to start? Like, why wait? Okay, it's January, now I can start. No, you know what? Start the new year living your dream life.
Yeah.
And how do you do that? You start taking action right now. Do something small every single day, no matter how you're feeling, whether you need that hope, you need to discover yourself, you need that transformation, no matter what. These next 6 months can be so incredibly powerful. They can completely change your life. You just have to let it happen. You have to start taking action.
Yeah, and that's I feel like the hardest part is deciding to do it.
Yeah.
Once you've decided that you're going to make it happen, you're already unstoppable. That alone, you're setting yourself up for success.
And if you need someone to tell you that you can do it, we're here to tell you that you can become unstoppable by having hope, discovering yourself, and going through that transformation.
If you do have any questions, we do have a blog. We are on Pinterest. We are on Instagram. Feel free to reach out at any time because we want to give you that hope. We want to give you the tools you can use in order to be successful. So make sure you check us out on our website, which is www.csplanners.com. And you can find us on Pinterest, Instagram, everywhere else as CS Planners. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yes,
you are unstoppable. It's our mission to make sure that you feel unstoppable, and we're so excited. We'll talk to you soon.
Bye.
Bye. We have 2 new fans.
Nice.
We were given a pendant and 3 bullet coupons.
I don't know what that
I don't know either.
Does it say how many people?
Congratulations, you've won 3 treasure boxes. Thanks. 382 viewers.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Oh, we're still streaming.